Okay, you guys, I'm gonna give you an update because you may have heard from me, from Dave on the pen, from so many other people that the compounding shortage is over. Let's talk about it. Okay, hi, my name is Adrian, and if you are new here, I have tried everything. My whole life I've been struggling with obesity, and I didn't know I was also dealing with a lot of inflammation and autoimmunity things, but since learning that, I've tried so many different things. I was on The Biggest Loser, I've had gastric bypass, I've tried running half marathons and restricting my food, I've tried carnivore diet, I've tried, probably the most helpful thing was carnivore. In there I was able to reduce a lot of inflammation and stop having as many food reactions, and really I find it to be a really healing diet for me, and I feel like it's a pretty good diet to focus on nutrient-dense food. But there's been periods of pretty extreme exercise. I've tried a lot of things, but ultimately, I'm finding that there's a little something underneath that just kind of doesn't let anything ever stick. And so when I found GLP and added that to my lifestyle changes, that's when things have really changed. So I wanted to go in today though, because I started sharing about this, and then the first thing that happens is it kind of the access seems a little wonky right now. Okay, so what do I mean? If you're brand new, what it means is right now there's a name brand of the medicine and then there's a compound version of the medicine. And the reason that the compound is allowed is because the name brand, they just can't produce enough for the number of people that are on it. And so in those cases, they allow what is essentially generic. What's been really cool about generic is so many companies have popped up to help with this, whatever you want to call it, that there's a lot of competition and the prices keep coming down. So this has been a really affordable, easy way for people to access this medication. Before I even go into that, some people would say, well, gosh, why does anybody need to access it besides diabetics, or some people are really kind of upset about the weight loss thing, because a lot of people have this internal belief that if people just work hard enough, they'll lose the weight. And unfortunately, that turns out that that's not true for everybody. I know people, myself included, who work very hard, and every time we take a single breath, our body just blows up. And it's very difficult for me to not be 250 pounds. Dr. Tina Moore recently came out with something in studies that are showing that people's brains and their metabolism change for a very long time, potentially permanently. I mean, they've done this study out at least 6 years, but potentially longer. Biggest Loser for me was 18 years ago, and yet my effort does not really often equate to my results. Sorry about that. So adding this peptide, it's not a drug, it's a peptide, which works with your body to heal certain things. It helps your body process energy more appropriately. It helps your stomach and your cells and your insulin, your hormones. It helps it communicate better, and so you're not having insulin resistance. I believe that a lot of insulin resistance is not being diagnosed. The testing is only for very extreme cases, and it doesn't show the dysfunction that seems to be happening in so much of our population. If you have to do really extreme things to lose weight, then there's something off. My husband doesn't have to try very hard. He'll just cut pop for a little bit and lose 20 pounds. It's no big deal. But for many Americans, it takes extreme things. And for so many Americans, they've tried so many things that didn't work. They've been duped so many times and then blamed when it didn't work, that they're just sick of it. And so it's amazing that we finally have something that actually works in some of the underlying issues. And one of those issues, one is that communication with the insulin. Another one is the inflammation. People are inflamed inside, their cells are inflamed, their gut's inflamed, and that inflammation makes your metabolism wonky. Another thing is there actually is a GLP deficiency, and there's currently not a test for it. It's just symptom-based currently. I know I'm GLP deficient because I take this medicine, I pretty much feel nothing. Where some people will take it and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't even eat. One of the symptoms is that you just kind of don't ever feel that full. And if you do, it's only for a little bit and you're kind of obsessive. To me, that is an indicator you are GLP deficient. There are skinny people who deal with food noise or noise and obsession. That to me is an indicator that the chemicals in the brain are off. And I didn't know what that even meant until I tried this. And then you go, oh, this is what it feels like to be normal? I mean, it feels like nothing. You're just not obsessive anymore. It's very weird. And you don't want to be an obsessive person. You're fighting that obsession constantly because we were told that it's our fault that we're that way and we just need therapy and to work on that. And turns out there is actually something in our brain. So anyway, this has been an amazing tool, and I think it could be so amazing for so many people. Dr. Boz just came out about all the brain healing, about all the autophagy that happens from these peptides. When you couple this with lifestyle, it's just like va-va-voom. And you're saying, well, what about the side effects? Well, most of the side effects are because that particular person is taking too much medication for their body. There's a standard dosing schedule. For most people, that standard dosing schedule is too much. The jumps are really, really big. And for most people, that is too much, and then they have side effects. But if you stay low, you start low, maybe you start at quarter dose. I'm not saying where you start. I don't know. It's different for each person. And you work with your doctor or whatever, your practitioner, to decide where do you want to start. If you have symptoms, you back down. If you don't have symptoms, you stay there. You stay there, you stay there. Let your body acclimate. And maybe if you decide to go up, you just go up little tiny bits, like way less than what they're telling us to. There's no reason to ever have a side effect. And then people will say, well, what about the cancer? What about the heart attacks? A lot of people coming onto this are not well to begin with. And that's correlation, not causation. And I mean, I'm not promising here that it absolutely cannot hurt you. I think if you are overdosing because you're on the standard schedule and you cannot eat and you're losing your muscle and you're getting dizzy and you're getting headaches and you're getting nausea because you're on way too much medication, that, I mean, not eating and malnourishing yourself is going to have consequences. But overall, these peptides actually heal cardiovascular, they actually heal your brain, and they actually heal your gut. It's crazy the healing that they're doing. And this is just the start, you guys. Okay, so let's get back to the compound part, because I could go on and on about how amazing they are. Once you try it, you're like, I feel like I've gotten my brain back. Let's just say that. I've been struggling with perimenopause. This really helps your hormones, and it really helps your brain, and it helps your inflammation. I've been struggling with chronic inflammation, and I get these messages every day now of people saying, I have never been so relieved in my life. And it's about so much more than just appetite suppression. They're so relieved from so many things. So right now, most people are accessing it through compound. Yeah, you could get name brand, specifically if you are a type 2 diabetic. If you're a type 1 diabetic, I do not believe you're gonna get coverage from this, and they're actually gonna scare you away when I've seen some indications that it could be helpful to type 1 diabetics, but I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling anybody to do anything here. And then the only other coverage is if you are pretty obese. And then it gets really sketchy, because what happens if you lose the weight? What happens if you get pregnant and you're no longer that big weight? Now you no longer qualify. Another thing is, some people can be a very high fat percentage, but not a big weight, and they're not qualifying and they're struggling. And so very few people, it seems, have insurance coverage. I heard a statistic that 9% of people with coverage have open coverage, meaning if your doctor wants to put it for off-label, that you could still get coverage from your insurance company. Most insurance companies will pretty much only cover diabetes. There's a lot that will not cover it for weight loss, for obesity, because they're not recognizing obesity as a disease. And after you try this, I don't like the word disease. Obesity is for sure a condition of dysfunction. I am very hopeful now that this can be healed, but it is for sure a condition of dysfunction. It is not simply people overeating. I know people who can eat. I know a woman that's 95 pounds. She works out an hour and a half a day. That's it, which for the amount I'm about to tell you, she said she eats 10,000 calories of crap and she weighs 95 pounds. So you can't tell me then that somebody who's eating 1,200 calories and gaining weight, that's because they just didn't try hard enough. So anyway, so we've been accessing it through compounding and through online telemedicine. And we could only do that so long as it was on shortage. Well, the FDA decided today it is no longer on shortage. So here's my hope for you, because I know what is happening this second, and I want to give you some hope. Okay, first of all, our family is not panic buying. Have I been refilling? Well, we, as soon as it was offered, bought an extended dose package. We're 2 months into that extended dose package, okay? And we can't buy another extended dose package. So we don't have 8 months worth of medication on hand. I'd say we have 3 to 4, which is great. And I just did my first refill, so we'll have 4 to 5 months of medication. That's nice. I kind of like that just because I'm not big on being dependent upon, will my medication come in time? I don't like to live that way. And we decided that's how much our family could afford, was to be a few months ahead. But that's all we're doing, okay? We are not panic buying here. I highly warn you against panic buying, because a lot of these companies, let's say I go to 10 different companies, their vial is only good for 30 days. So it's not a great long-term plan. That sounds like a really good way to waste money in a refrigerator. It's also a little bit worrisome that you have so much money in your refrigerator, and what if your refrigerator goes out? What if it freezes? What, you know? Okay, so I do not suggest ordering from 10 different companies, because it's going to go bad in your fridge. It's very expensive, and now you've got, a lot of them require subscriptions. What I don't think is a terrible idea, but not required. Again, repeat, not required. Most of us don't have buckets of cash sitting around, okay? So this is not a requirement. But if you are a little bit worried and you happen to have a little extra money sitting there because you've cut your personal trainer that you've had for 2 years that you think is so wonderful, but it hasn't really gotten you to your goal, it hasn't really healed some of the things you need to heal, maybe you cut the supplements through your functional doctor because it turns out they didn't really work either, or you cut, you know, I've bought in so much crap. Oh my gosh, you guys. I've bought in so much crap because I was sure it was going to help me get to my goal. And then you take into consideration the reduced cost in junk food, the reduced cost in medications that's coming, the reduced cost in a lot of things. I think for me, this is a good value. So we determined as a family, this is how much we're willing to be, and we're not going to go over that. So, okay, so the problem with buying is that once you poke a vial, it's good for 30 days. I think that the Lavender Skies might be good for a little bit longer because they send out 10 weeks at a time. Do they send that in 2 vials? I don't remember, but it might be a little bit longer, and you just have to look at your vial. I like Lavender Sky because they send out 10 weeks at a time, and in general, I just don't like to be a slave to calling every month, you know, and hoping my medicine comes in time. I also like you can refill every 21 days. So it's something that you could do that's a little bit smaller to stock up just a little bit, but again, not necessary. This fight has been going on for years, and I think it's going to go on for several more. I can't predict the future. I'm not making any promises here. Don't come after me, but I don't think the fight is over, and that's going to come in a few more. Okay, so consider doing your refills sooner than you need to, whatever is allowed and whatever you can afford. Okay, next. Compounding pharmacies and telemedicine companies have been serving millions of people. They admittedly have been making tons of money, and they don't intend to go down without a fight. So right now they're looking into working within the rules of compounding to continue their services. And what does that mean? We recently got an email from Mochi. They've changed up their dosing. So they suggest, you know, and they have to be off by 10%. So you'll notice it's about 10% that they changed their dosing. So it's no longer 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15. They've altered that 10%, okay? Another thing they're doing is putting in additives like vitamins, and they would say that this is necessary for some people due to nausea, due to low energy, due to all the things, okay? So compounding pharmacies are fighting with us, and they do not intend to shut their doors anytime soon, and it's a big incentive for them, and so just know we're not alone in this fight. Next is, and I'm just gonna, this is not a political thing. I personally do not believe in any politicians, would never lay my life on the line hoping that they would save me. Not a big government person, but the next administration has made a lot of campaign promises. And some of the people that they put in place are pro GLP and pro compounding. The guy they're putting at the head of the FDA used to be the CEO of a telehealth company that served patients providing compounded GLP. So that I think is like that's a good sign that they know the positives. This also, Elon Musk has taken Ozempic. He knows like how awesome it is. And so I think I think the next administration could do. One of the promises was to, they didn't use the word take down, but to work with the PBMs, whether that's regulate, whether that's dismantle. I want to say dismantle was the word they used. Because what's happening is PBMs, they're this middleman. We got like a bunch of middlemen in between us and the name brand medication. And the middlemen are pumping up the price. They collect on the pumping up, as well as they're owned by the insurance companies who are also collecting on the pumping up because they collect a percentage of charge. So there's an incentive for what's going on here, and it has blown the cost up. In other countries, people are getting this for $60 and $200. So it's not necessary for the cost to be what it is. And one of the reasons that it is because of the middlemen, and the next administration said they're gonna take care of that. You know, again, not holding my breath, but it is something to consider. That this, with, I believe, and I'm just making this up, I believe there's tens of millions of people on this, on compounded. And why do I believe that? Because out of all the people I know, I only know like 2 people who are actually on name brand. Like only 2 people have coverage. Out of all the people I know on this, like nobody has coverage. And nobody I know also has $650 a month laying around to buy name branded medication, which I think it's like $1,600 or $1,200, unless you have a coupon, and then it's $650. Woo! Saved us. Yeah, nobody has $650. Anyway, so next administration, PBMs. Okay, next one. I just said it. You are not alone. There are tens of millions of people, I believe, tens of millions, but at least 6 million that are on this, that are on compounded, and that will say these exact words. You cannot pry this out of my cold dead hands, because it has been such a relief I've never experienced in my whole life. This is crazy, to be able to move on with life, to not have that obsession, to just get to move on. It is something I always hoped for. I've always hoped in all the things that I've had that I would get to this space, but there was nothing until this that actually got me there. So you're not alone, and there's no way that the tens of millions of people are just gonna go, oh, okay, I won't take it anymore. Sure, it was saving my life, but it's fine. No, we are an army of people who are gonna fight for access, and that goes back to the political thing of like, you wanna make millions of people happy? Give us access to this life-changing medicine. Okay, next one. New GLPs are coming out. I don't know how many it is. I'm gonna go with 50 are in clinical trials. They're actually even better. They have more indicators in them for healing, more peptides in them, more tools inside of them to help our bodies become more homeostasis. And with the new things coming out, potentially those could be on shortage the second they come out. Potentially, I mean, at a minimum, that makes this stuff old news. I mean, have you ever heard of liraglutide? Yeah. Yeah, you have, or you haven't? I don't think you have. That was like one of the first ones, and you had to take it every day, and it wasn't super effective. That is how tirzepatide is going to be soon, I think, or at least semaglutide. I hear people already talking about that semaglutide, Ozempic, Manjar, or Wegovy, Ozempic, semaglutide. That one is pretty quickly old news, and so I believe, I don't know. Here's another one. I didn't even have this on my list for my group. I put this in my group, Eat Meat, Lift Heavy, GLP group. I didn't even put this in my group, and now I already lost it. Okay. All right, next one. This one is a tricky one, and I don't know how to talk about this very well. First, I want to say this is potentially incredibly dangerous, which goes back to why I think the government is going to have to step in. That if you take compounding away from people, everybody's going to go to research peptides. And what is that? Research companies or companies can sell peptides that are not for human consumption. They literally say on them, not for human consumption. There's a whole bunch of scams out there. Every single website is going to have a certificate that says, these have been third-party tested. Well, yeah, I can whip you up one of those right now. I'll just make it up. Sure, my peptides are third-party. You don't know what you're getting. This is very dangerous. But there are some doctors out there who appear to be willing to do some research. So we'll see if that is a thing. Overall, I just want to say, if you are going to go the research route, don't believe Reddit. People go on, the companies go on Reddit and make things up. Don't just believe your best friend. You know, it needs to be, maybe you know the owner and you've seen the third-party testing and you know they test every single what comes out, and I don't believe anything you read on Facebook. Is just that is a really touchy one. Like, a company could be totally fine, and then the next shipment they didn't test it for whatever reason, and it might not be fine. So, but that's in the realm there that, yeah, I'm not sure how to talk about that one, because part of me isn't super anti, because if it is tested, and it is the same exact product, and it could save somebody's life, that's one thing. But there is very concern with injecting yourself with things you don't know. But also, there are peptides from these research companies that are very healing that you can't get a prescription from, and you can't get from a compounding pharmacy to begin with, and they can't be patented, and those seem to be pretty safe. But again, lots of research, and I'm definitely not sending you there, and I'm not going to have you rely on that, okay? Next one. The brand name companies are going to be pressured to give us access to this, cut the middlemen out, and reduce the cost. I mean, you claim that you have it for everyone, so you need to make it accessible to everyone. They're the ones getting rid of compounding. So you claim you have this for everyone, then you need to make it for everyone. And when you tell us you want $650, you are not telling us that you are making this for everyone. That is, you are holding us hostage. So people are going to demand that if that is the only option, that you must make it accessible, cut out the middlemen, and reduce the cost to the same thing people are paying in other countries. So I hold a little tiny bit of hope for that. I just want to throw in there, I'm kind of a free market person, so I get that if you did all the studies, you did the investments, that you deserve a payback, but it just seems a little weird to me, like how extreme it is. And then the next thing that seems really extreme is, why do they have such a long patent? And I'll have to read Dave on the Pen. He just released a book. You can get it on Amazon if you search Dave on the Pen. His book will come up. It's hot pink with a green pen, and he goes into the history of GLP, and I'll be very interested to learn. Hopefully it's in there, of like, why is their patent so long? It seems quite ridiculous to be like, here's 20 years, or how long is their patent? Really long, way too long. Like, I think we should have innovation, but we also can't have like endless monopolies on things that could change people's lives. Okay. Next one, insurance coverage. Okay, so employers are getting, the data's out there. They're doing studies like crazy. The companies themselves, Eli Lilly themselves, have been giving these to unemployed people, I think it was, just to show that they return to the employment market quicker, better, faster. I believe if people are healing, they're feeling better, they're not going to the doctor all the time, they're not sick all the time. Now your cost of your insurance has got to go down, because this would be like the thing that you pay for, but now they don't need heart surgery, now they don't need diabetes medicine, now they don't need, their brain is healed, they're much more functional, they have way more energy. I mean, for employers, not only as to make your employees happy, but like as a functional standpoint, it makes sense for employers to start paying for this. And so I know some people who are like, I'm going to determine who hires me based on if you have coverage for this or not. And I have hope that this is going to be something employees are going to demand be covered. It is not just about weight loss. It is about overall health. It's about working on underlying issues, and it is such an improvement in people's lives. So my final one, which should have been number one, is that take this out of your hands. Take this out of the FDA's hands. Take this out of Big Pharma's hands and put it into God's hands. For real. You cannot control this. Like, even if it didn't go on shortage, you can't control this. Even if it was still on shortage, we could still compound. You can't control this. Only God can. So take it out of your hands and give it to your higher power, which for me is my Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, hopefully this has helped you not go out and rack up your credit cards and buy a bunch of peptides that are about to expire, or potentially aren't even peptides to begin with if you were going the research route. So hopefully this helps you a little bit. If you're considering adding this, I would not let this determine whether or not you try it. I think you should still try and see if you have a condition that I have mentioned, that other people have mentioned. I have a playlist, GLP-1 favorites, where doctors go into the different things, and Dr. Boz just did one. It was absolutely amazing. The different things that this helps with. To me, of course, I've always, people are motivated by two things, pain and vanity. of course I want to be thin and trim and gorgeous, you know? I'm kind of feeling that way, to be honest. It's looking good. But anyway, everybody is motivated by that. But in reality, if you're struggling with some things like brain clarity, hormones, your skin, your gut, you're having food reactions, you're having allergies all the time, this can help with so many things. They're saying this can help children and adults with autism. They're saying this can help people with Parkinson's, MS, autoimmune, long haulers. I specifically want to say for my chronic inflammatory response syndrome people, you can get relief. And am I saying that for SIRS specifically, is this going to cure your SIRS? I'm not sure. I feel like long term, this can really, really heal some stuff. But I think this will get you some relief while you work on renovating your home, while you work on maybe detoxing. You're going to detox so much better because you're not all inflamed, you know, and you're going to have more money because you're not buying $1,000 worth of supplements every month, hoping that that will help you. This is going to give you some inflammation relief. So if you guys found this helpful, please comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Did I miss anything? What other hopeful things are there? I'm pretty hopeful. Like I said, our family is not panic buying. I repeat, I swear to you, you can check my credit card because we don't put many things on a debit card because of safety, blah, blah, blah. We are not panic buying, period. I love Lavender Sky. I am checking out Mochi because I think I like how their price is just easy. And they're easy to work with, and I just want to have more options for other people, so I thought I'd check it out. But we are not panic buying. The last prescription we filled with Lavender Sky was a couple months ago. 6 weeks. I think it's been 8 weeks since we filled my last prescription with Lavender Sky. So we are not panic buying over here, okay, guys? And I hope that you will not do it either. All right, but it's okay if you're a little prepared. So anyway, I hope you find this helpful. Have a great day. Bye.